Hello, YouTube. How are you doing? Taking off my gloves. Um, gonna wait for hopefully some people to come in. But what we're gonna be doing today is cracking a comic out of its CGC slab, and I'll take you through the process of prepping it for pressing. There's a lot of stuff that goes into, I guess, a lot of things you got to do to prep your comic for pressing. I have a whole pressing setup here, a pressing work area on this side of my studio. And so I just bought this one. I think I paid like 45 bucks for it, maybe something like that. 8.5 Amazing Spider-Man 36, the 911 issue. This one was supposed to be a different story. And basically, let me try to make sure this mic is this way. Um, basically, what's wrong with it is there's a lot of, I guess, creases. Some are finger bends, some just from being handled. It does have spine ticks, but I think I can get this to at least a 9.2, maybe even a 9.4, and if we're super lucky, a 9.6. But I'd be happy just to get it into the nines. There's several kind of bends um, in here that I think I can definitely get out. So this is a slab I picked to press. Looks like we have one person in here. What's up, whoever you are? Thank you for tuning in. This will be a quick video. It won't be like yesterday's live that took 2 hours, where I was unbagging a lot of Marvel Walmart 3-packs and some DC ones. But anyway, so I guess what do we need to do to crack this out of its slab? You're going to need a couple of tools, and both of them happen to be flathead screwdrivers. I bought these. Hold on really quick. Got to start recording on my camera so that it'll autofocus. Let me see. That's how I know. Let me see if it's working. Give me one sec. Okay, it says it needs a memory card. All right, so while I grab a memory card, I'll kind of tell you a little bit about cracking and pressing. So one way to kind of build up your collection when you don't have a ton of money that you want to spend on comics is by buying a lower grade comic and pressing it up. So this obviously costs, if you don't know how to press yourself, it's going to cost you pressing fees. And if you then you're going to have to basically risk cracking it out of the CGC slab, and then you're going to get I guess charged again from CB or CBCS or CGC, wherever you want to send it, again for slabbing. So we're going to crack this bad boy. I do recommend, once you get to a certain point, to put on gloves. But right now we're going to start with these two tools, 2 flathead screwdrivers. I like using the shorties. Reason being is that, I can be kind of a klutz a little bit. And so whenever I've used a long one, sometimes like I'll slip and I go whoop, and it'll go all the way through. I've never damaged the comic, luckily. And plus it's inside the inner well as well, which protects it. But, just to prevent any crazy slip ups like that, I like using the short ones. All right, so we have 3 people in the chat. What's up, guys? Drop a comment. Do me a favor, hit the like button. You got to exit the chat, then hit the like button so that it helps the algorithm, helps the video get out there. Let me hit record on this thing real quick and we'll get started. But yeah, let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what part of the world you're at. Let me just I don't know if you're watching what I'm watching, but I'm going through the settings to format the card that I have. Hitting format now. Yes, I want to formatting, and it's going slower than usual. There it goes. All right, so there we go. Let's see. All right. Okay. And it looks like that made me lose connection. So let's try to get this back. So I've just started using StreamYard. I've switched from Streamlabs and OBS to StreamYard because I'm going to be doing. Okay, so it's not coming back. So I'll mess with it in a second. Meanwhile, we'll go to my laptop camera, and you can kind of see a little bit of my studio setup there. But what I've been doing is using Streamlab whenever I go live, and I'm switching to StreamYard because I am going to be joining Gem Mint on Black Friday, 8 Eastern, 7 Central for his live auction, and I'm going to be auctioning off a lot of my personal collections. I own a comic book store. I got a ton of really cool stuff, but it's literally a ton, and I got to start getting rid of it, moving some of that stuff and using that money to kind of really collect my grails. And yeah, so that's where I'm at with that. So if you haven't seen Gem Mint, make sure to check out his channel and go in there, hit like, check us out. We also have Nick Barucci. He is the CEO of Dynamite Entertainment. So Dynamite Entertainment, they're the comic company that has like Vampirilla, Red Sonja, those titles, and a bunch of other ones as well. Those aren't the only ones. But let me see if this works on the other camera. Not yet. Let me see. All right. Gonna have to do this with well, let's see. Did it jump on? No. Okay, so we're gonna do FaceTime camera on my Mac. It looks like. Is that one even working? Wow. All right, bear with me. Oh, there we go. Okay. That did it. Okay, so bear with me. We're gonna use my laptop camera. I have a Sony camera up here. I don't know if you can see it on my whole setup, but yeah, it's not playing well right now. So, okay, guys, so we're going to crack this, and let me see how I can set this up so that you guys can watch. Let's see. Okay, I think that's gonna have to do. All right, well, I did have was hoping for a slightly better view for you guys, but I still got to figure out StreamYard for this live. So I have committed to actually just using StreamYard until I get a hang of it completely. All right, guys. So the CGC slabs have seams all the way around. The newer ones are a lot better built than they used to be. And so now you can see right here, they have like a seam where it was, I guess, either where the plastic was molded and cut, or they melt it to really get, get it sealed. What was happening with the older ones was they were easy to, I guess, fake out. People were getting, I guess, crappier comics that they had graded. For example, like if they had if this was a 9.8 and they had an 8.5, they'd crack it out of the slab, pull out the inner well, and slip it into a 9.8 one. And then, so you'd think it was a 9.8, but if you checked along the corners, you'd see that it was cracked and re-glued. And I recently got a slab. It was a Thanos Rising 9.8. That was definitely not a 9.8, cracked and put in there. I don't know if it was the seller that I got it from on eBay, or if it was if he bought it from somebody, and and they did that to him. But he did have 2 other comics that he gave me for free with that shipment, which makes me think he was trying to butter me up to not return it. And I guess it worked because I didn't return it. But because I wanted to use it as a lesson, once I'm going to crack it, on camera for the YouTube channel and kind of show you. Let me see, is this, there we go. All right, VP is watching. Cool. What's up, dude? Sorry, I had it on a different chat. Anyway, so these new ones are a lot harder to, crack and put something else in there. It's probably still possible, but once you start cracking them, you're going to see it cracks very messy. And that's a good thing, so if you're buying slabs off eBay, you can kind of look around. Always check your slabs, because I'm going to say 1 out of every 40 that I've bought have, what's up, Tristan? 1 of every 40 slabs that I've bought has been tampered with. So please be very careful out there. Okay, I'm going to aim this camera down here, maybe like right there-ish. Let me see, where would I need to work for y'all to see? Okay, so unfortunately, this impedes my view of the chat, so I'll periodically check the chat. But what you're going to want to do is take 1 of 2 screwdrivers. One of them is used for one thing, the other is used for another thing. And I'll show you what they are for. So there's seams all the way around. I like to start at the top because that gives me a lot of room to not mess up the comic inside in case I slip. And this is why I stopped using long screwdrivers, because it could slip and potentially damage the comic. Even if it's in an inner well, it could still damage it. And let me see if I can kind of show you some of the problems with this one with the light. There is a long seam right here that looks like where it was bent straight. I don't know if it was stacked up on other books and they just kind of made an indentation there. And then in here, yeah, it's going to be hard to see on 720p streaming. There's a lot of finger bends along the bottom and other bends in here. The comic is pretty wavy, so that's what's giving it the 8.5 as far as I can tell right now. But what you do first thing is you're going to find the seam, and I like to be in the middle, and I kind of put it in here. Let me aim this way and kind of wiggle it until it makes its way in there. And then this one will stay there. And then you grab your other one and kind of stick it in there and start sliding to the corners. This holds it open for you. And then you start twisting a little bit. And you can see where, maybe can you see? Right there, how it's separating. And you can see where it's already, making marks on the plastic. So if you see any marks like that on the inside, that's a sign that somebody cracked that comic. Not as obvious on the old ones, on the old slabs, because the whole side was open and it was only sealed at the corners. But on these new ones, pretty much everything is sealed, except along the top and maybe along the bottom. I'm not too sure. So then same thing, pop the other one in. One to hold it open for you and one that you can move along, and then you just kind of slide it. Let me get my hand out of the way. Just slide it towards the corner, and that'll snap the little, a connector there that's connecting to the back, and then you can kind of wiggle it. Whoop. And this one, you see, kind of started to crack this way, so that becomes problematic. So we'll continue to this side. So good thing about these slabs, hard to crack and hard to, fool people when switching other comics out, lower grade for whatever's in there, but bad if you're trying to crack them, which I guess that's the point. So again, slide this one in as far as you can. Oh, wow. And it even does the work for you. There we go. And so that one just holds it to give you a little bit of room. And let me see, how can I get a good view for you guys? And then you just kind of slide it along and you hear it pop. Let me try to face it this way for you and see if that'll help. So slide it along and then twist, and it starts popping. The other one will fall out eventually, and that's fine. And you want to be very careful not to like push it in, because that could in fact damage the comic inside. There we go. All right. And you just kind of make your way all the way around. Some people just do it to that point and pull out. But not me. I go all the way. All right. So then we're going to kind of do the same thing on this side. Pop one in there, grab the other one, and start lifting up. If it pops out, if the other one pops out, that's fine. Put your fingers over here. Let me see. There we go. Between, kind of start spreading it, and you see that it starts to crack. There we go. All right, boom. And so now you have a really good, let me see. All right, then you have that first piece off, and now it's real easy to pull out the label. That's what the label looks like. Just a little folded thing that they pop in there. And now you have the inner well. So the inner well looks sealed. Let me kind of lift this up a little bit, and I'll show you right here. The inner well, and you can kind of see a lot of the creases there, maybe depending on the quality that you're seeing on this. The inner well is sealed all the way around. And so this, to get through this, is going to be a whole different process. At this point, I always like to save these. I put them in a stack. There we go. I put them in a stack, and then obviously crack, press, resend for grading, and that usually results in a higher grade. Everything I've sent has either come back the same grade, very rare that it comes back the same grade, or it's improved either a little bit to a lot. So I've had a lot of success with that. All right, so with this, you're gonna need some sharp ass scissors or a blade. And let me see, I don't know how I'm feeling today, how brave I may be feeling, but I have both over here, a blade and some sharp ass scissors. Both are risky, depending. If you have a super sharp blade, you might be able to do it with a super sharp blade. There is enough room. It looks like probably a quarter of an inch to an eighth of an inch all the way around the comic in the well, so that you don't cut into the comic. But if you're not sure of yourself, definitely use the scissors. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try to switch to my, there we go. Let's see. Is that working? How is the resolution out there, guys? The barbecue man, yo, just your friendly local barbacoa man. I love it. Is that T-Ghost? Who is it? Let me know. D, the image is crappy from that camera. Just saying. Oh, I'm from Kentucky. Took me a sec to get logged on my laptop. I mostly watch from my TV, which I can't comment from. Yeah, sorry, man. I was shooting off my Sony, but for some reason it's acting weird. Let me try to switch it, see if that'll, because that would make everything better. If I can just get it to work again. Hey, all right, we're in business again. Okay, so I don't know if that's better. It could also be my internet connection. So let me try to work on that. Make sure I can go to a landline, which will probably be better. Let me see. Let me go to my network preferences. Hey, T-Ghost. Yeah. All right, bro. Okay, there we go. So I'm jumping over to all right. Let me know if that's better. I can only broadcast in 720p It lets me go up to 1080p. This camera is 4K capable, but this program that I'm trying to learn for our live stream is only lets you go to 1080p, but it says to keep it, safe, to go up to 720p. Let me try general. Yeah, it recommends 720p. So hopefully that's better. All right, so now we're back in business on my Sony camera. I can move my computer over a bit and show you over here. All right, so this is gonna go down. All right, somewhere like maybe right there. All right, and move my desk back a little bit. Okay, so hopefully that's better. D says, yes, it's better. Can you give us a preview of what you plan to auction off on Friday? Hell yeah, Gabriel. I'll show you guys right now, right after I get through this part of it. We have a bunch of slabs, including like first appearance of Echo, which is Daredevil 9 Volume 2 at a 9.6. A bunch of 9.8 slabs, a bunch of keys, raw keys, and some slab keys. I also am considering, I don't know what to do with this. This comic graded goes for a lot of money because it's hard to find in high grade. So I don't know if I should crack it and press it. And open this up, press it, and send it to get graded, or if it's rarer, to keep it in here with the figure. It does go for more money cracked and pressed. If I can get a 9.8, it's probably $1,000. At a 9.6, which I'm sure I could get a 9.6 on this, it goes for about the same amount without the figure, but I just feel like it's rarer inside the package. Let me know what you guys think. You spent $8,000 on a damn Hulk 181. Damn, bro, that's awesome, dude. Very cool. I have two Hulk 181s. I got an 8.5, and I also have a 2. I don't know if it's 2 or 2.5 as well. And that's going to be one of the ones on the auction, but it'll be for buy it now. The 2.5 or 2.0, I forget what it is. I also have a bunch of Miles stuff. I have a whole bunch of stuff, man. You'll see some cool stuff here in a bit. I'll kind of give you a preview. All right, so once you have the case, if you're just joining us, we're cracking a comic out of its case. I just went over how to crack it out of the case, but there's another case inside. In most cases, there was a time when CGC didn't use an inner well, and the results weren't great. And I'll show you what that looks like. So I don't know how well this is turning up, but for a while there, this is how CGC graded the slabs. It is the newer case, but there was no inner well on the inside. They just kind of centered the comic in there, but that introduced a lot of waves and some little. Let me see if I can get it on camera. There's some little rainbow effects that you get, and they're called Newton rings on the slab. It takes away just from the visual impact of the book. It looks ugly, but it doesn't mess with your comic at all. I'm eventually going to crack this one, press it, hoping I can get a better grade on it. We'll see. But yeah, most of them are going to have an inner well, and you can do one of two things: a sharp ass blade, and make sure your blade is new. And what I always do, and let me kind of bring this up so you can maybe see, there's some space in between the comic and the inner well, and I try to stay as far as possible away from the comic while still cutting into that area inside that inner well, so that the comic can escape, I guess, so we can get it out. By the way, I managed to get the AMS 36 sketch by, oh cool, Scott Hanna at Big Texas Comic Con. Cool. Wanted to share since I saw you showcasing it. Yeah, man, I just sent one off to get graded, hoping for at least a 9.6 on that one. And then I have this one, which isn't the highest grade. It'll probably come back a 9.2 or a 9.4, but I want this one to get it sketched by somebody, maybe like John Romita Jr. or something, get some kind of badass sketch on there. I wouldn't recommend anybody crack and press a 9.8 because there's a lot of risks in the mail, in the handling, and somebody sketching on it, cracking a 9.8 is really risky. If you want to buy a 9.8 candidate and have that done, that's fine. But if you crack that 9.8, there is a big chance that it's not going to come back a 9.8. Yeah, I've been watching, and I'm jealous that you get all those dealer incentives. Thank you, D. Yeah, it's bittersweet because some I can keep, but most I cannot. And it's like the saying goes in the hood: you can't get high on your own supply. Sometimes I'll take a couple little hits off of these comics, but mostly you got to sell. You got to sell. I have some Union rings as well. Yeah, so that is a problem with CGC. CBCS does not have that problem. All right, so we're going to start cutting. Like I said, try to stay away. I just changed out this blade, so you want to stay away from the comic. It would be a shame if I cut this comic, and it is a big possibility. So did that go through all the way? It did not. So then I got to go in again and put a little more pressure, and that's where it gets spooky, Oh man, listen to that squeaking. Whoa! And then luckily the little first line is still there. Let's see if that worked. Nope. So, okay, so that's where you get your sharp ass scissors and you start working your way around the comic. So make sure you're careful. You can bend the comic and create stress lines at this time if you're not careful. This one already has some stress lines, but I think they will press out. And then do the same thing around the bottom. It's only really a problem along the spine, and that's why I do like to take a sharp blade around the spine, usually to prevent that, because the scissors can bend it a bit. All right, so you start to see that it's already kind of coming apart. Some people only take it that far. I like to take it a little bit further, and let's see, right there. There's a lot of space to work with. The only real danger is when you're working along the spine and cutting it. Some people don't even cut the side of the spine. They cut the other 3 edges, and that works as well. But you do run the risk when you're pulling it out of catching those pages and snagging them. All right, so boom. Now all 4 sides are open. And so this is the part where you're going to need gloves, especially on an all black cover. CGC and CBCS do notate and take away points for fingerprints. So grab yourself some gloves. All right. And I use mostly the clear disposable gloves, but I'm out of those. So I also have these shop gloves that have like little grippy things at the end. Not that it matters for this, but all right. Tristan says, I started following Tom Taylor. Yep. And on Facebook, and he announced a crossover with Nightwing and John Kent, Superman, in February 2022. Cool, man. That sounds like that could be fun. All right. So here you can see a lot of problems through the plastic, but you can't always see everything wrong with the book. You can't really see that until you break it out of the plastic, I guess. So this part is sometimes a bit scary. Kind of do that. And yeah, this has a lot of wrinkling. Let me get it into the light in a way that y'all can see. Let me see. There we go. So you see all that wrinkling. There is some issues here. It looks like maybe a tad bit of fading or something. That could also be a fingerprint right there. You can kind of see it a little bit there. That I'll try to clean off. Let me see. You see that bend right there in particular? Oh no, where is it? There it is. Right there. So that one right there and that little one right there, those are finger bends that happen as you're flipping through the comic and your finger is kind of bending it a little bit. It's got several of those, including a really big one down along the bottom right there. So that's a big finger bend that will need to come out. And other than that, some spine stress along the side. The biggest one being right there. There's one right there. A medium-sized one right there, and all the rest are tiny. Some of the non-color breaking ones I can get out in a press. And wow, why is Siri recording everything I'm saying? Weird. I got these AirPods, and I don't know. Sometimes Siri will just start listening, uh, like, like I don't know, maybe Skynet or something. And then on the back, it does have, and these look like either production creases or from stacking comics while they're raw or unbagged. So if you can see, there's a huge line right there, another one right there, another one right there. All of that will come out in a press. You can see it a little bit on the inside too. It actually, this is probably production issues because it goes through every page. I can see it. I can still see it right there. Still see it right there. Still see it there. Yeah, it goes, it's starting to disappear there, but it's still there a little bit. And in the front, I can see some lines there as well. So that must have happened during production. Maybe the rollers that are moving the paper, sometimes they like, put stress on the covers and stuff. It could have been, I don't know. It could have been a ton of things, but this is the famous 911 issue. There we go. With Spider-Man showing the towers falling and showing how the heroes, you know, reacted to it, him walking through the smoke, Mr. Fantastic and all the people pitching in, trying to save as many people as they could, even Magneto and Doctor Doom. They're Doctor Doom crying. That's insane. The fire department, they're all tired and stuff. The government's, watching and talking, him with some of, saving some kids and stuff. Obviously, that didn't happen in real life, but it shows all the, the real heroes in real life that saved a lot of people, and then the heroes in the background. Because I imagine Magneto could have probably moved all that stuff. Well, I guess he can't move rocks, but maybe he could. I don't know. Anyway, pretty awesome issue. Now I'm going to show you how to prep it for pressing. And so this isn't like a one-off tutorial that you're going to like be an expert as soon as you do it. It does take a lot of work to learn how to press. And so I've been pressing, I think I started September 2018. It's when I first got my first press and started messing with it. And then since then, I've probably pressed, I don't know, I've pressed a ton of books. For a while, I was only pressing things that were under a couple $100 in case I messed them up. And I would send them to another professional presser, a couple others. And at some point, I started getting stuff with, pressable defects, and that I wasn't very happy about that. So D says, Siri won't talk to me anymore since I got fresh with her. All right. A little too much info there, but hey, anyway. So I decided, you know what? It started with some first appearance of Miles Morales that I got back that I still saw pressable defects in there. And what the professional pressers, they got to do this as a job, right? And they have to put out a certain amount of comics every day to make it profitable so they can live, right? So I get that. And they're not going to sit there and nitpick every problem with your comic and press it as many times as it takes to get all the defects out, right? They're going to give it a 1, maybe 2, and then out of here. Whatever came out, and you're stuck with those grades. So that's why I really recommend everybody learning how to press for yourself, because depending how much time you have the time to make sure that comic is absolutely perfect. I've been pressing some Crow number 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s from the original run, and that paper is so hard to work with. And so I did receive, let me bust one out. Let's see. I did receive these back from a presser, and back then the wait period for pressing was like 3 or 4 months. And some of these really have a ton of other defects that could have come out, but this paper is so hard to work with that you got to press it 3 or 4 times sometimes just to get everything out. And professional pressers don't always have that time. There's a few that'll charge you, hey man, I'm going to charge you $40, but $50 per book, and but I'm going to get every defect out, or as much as humanly possible. And depending on your book, it might be worth it to do that. It might bring up your grade significantly, which, like in the case of like a Hulk 181 like D has, that brings a lot more money. Definitely worth the $50. Other times, if it's a modern that you just want to have for spec purposes, but it hasn't popped yet, it might not be worth it. So it just depends. So that's why I say, hey, everybody, and some people don't have the desire, and that's fine, but everybody should at least give it a try. Learn to press. A press will cost you $200 if you go for a regular black clamshell. I recommend the 2C brand, TUSY, and I'll show you my presses a little bit later on. If you want to go legit, you get like a seal press, which are like older presses, but they're really good quality. But the 2Cs are fine. They work really well as well. And grab yourself a couple books. There's 2 books, and let me grab one so I can show you. So there's 2 books. One of them I have lent out at the moment, and then there's also this one, Comic Book CPR. A lot of invaluable or super valuable information in here if you're interested in pressing. All the tools you'll need. Now, pressing there's also Facebook groups that will help you, and they'll berate you as well. Some of them are run by kind of elitists, that can be douches, and others aren't so much. There's one, Captain Mike's, Captain with a K, Mike with an MYKE. He's the one who put out this book, Michael Friedrich Sorensen. And then he had a lot of help from all of these guys here who are professional pressers that gave tips and stuff. But, a lot of these same pressers, Gregory DeFore, he's one of those that'll charge you a little bit more, but man, he gets the corners on his books super sharp. Anyway, from what I've seen, I haven't used him yet. He's probably super backed up as well. But now that I'm doing all my own stuff, I really don't need to. But some of them, here's that book. Look, that white, it's not focusing, Spider-Man 2099. So some of the techniques aren't always universally agreed on what you can do with them. Some pressers are like, oh man, that book's for hacks. But in reality, this got me started, and it does have a lot of good information. And as you learn and make mistakes, you can kind of pivot, wherever it is you want to go. And if you can try new things, see what works for you. There's always going to be pressers that are like, oh, don't listen to that guy, don't listen to this guy, don't listen to this guy. Everybody is going to critique everybody else's work or methods, but what you want at the end of the day is results, and that's all that matters. So F what anybody else says, but you do need to follow the books. There's another book on Amazon called Comic Book Pressing or something like that. That one's really good. It's like 2 warring factions, the people that follow the other book and the people that follow this book are always talking shit about each other. Well, the guys who do this book, they don't talk shit. The other guys are always, shooting shit back and forth, at least in the groups, but really both of them have such essential and awesome information that I recommend everybody read both and make up your mind, on what works best for you. Okay, so enough of that. Let me check the comments. Timex 5150's back. I got TMNT 1 Archie 6.5 today. Got home, noticed the case was cracked at the bottom, right in the middle, where the front and back join together. Damn, should I open it up and send back to regrade it? Looking closer, it needs a press. If you see pressable defects, I always say yes. There is always a chance that it could shoot up by a lot. I had a 9.0 Ultimate Fallout for first appearance of Miles Morales that I bought for $90 back in the day, right before it popped. And it was $90 for a 9.0, basically $1 per grade is what I paid. And so I sent it off to get pressed, and it came back a 9.8, which was worth $1,000 at the time that I made that video. If you go back and scroll through my videos, you'll see it. It says like how I don't know, did I 10x my money, or I don't know what it is, but I have a sword and there's money in the background on the thumbnail. Anyway, so you can definitely make more money. If it's a 6.5 and it has a lot of pressable defects, hey, even if it goes up to an 8.0, maybe those bends are all it has, and it could be a 9.6. Who knows, but yeah, definitely, I think you should. What's up, Superpower Review? Hey. Anyway, all right, so now we're gonna, I guess, prep for. So anyway, get this book and get the other book. Read them both 3 or 4 times, and you make up your mind what works for you. It's definitely better than starting from complete scratch and not knowing what you're doing. So first thing you're going to do is assess what is wrong with the book, right? Finger bends sometimes will come out on their own. Sometimes you need the help of a rollerball. And so I'm not going to go through all of that right now. I'm just going to prep it for a regular press. And what you need to do is create what I call, and maybe I forget what the, I guess the professionals call it the stack. I call it the sandwich. So let me kind of show you what that means. You're going to need certain things. The idea is you're going to create, if you just pressed it the way it is right now, some of the problems you would have is the centerfold, depending on the kind of staples it has. And so this one has just regular staples that don't pop out too far out into the book. Other ones have the, I guess what I call curly Q staples that really stick out into the book. And what you're going to do if you just press it just like this is you're going to make indentions and possibly even tears in that centerfold where those staples are pressing up against the edges right here. So you need some kind of buffer right here. And then if you're pressing a new book that has one of those digital code stickers, you're going to need to create a buffer in the page before and after as well, so that that sticker doesn't press all the way into your book. If not, you're going to have an indentation in the shape of that sticker all the way through, sometimes to the outer cover, and sometimes that can break color, and you definitely don't want that. So you'll need a buffer there too. And last but not least, you'll need buffers in between the first and last pages. That way, these pages where all these bends are, is that a particle? Or, okay, so that's just the way the print is. So that you can give the cover something flat to kind of train it, basically. So I always put my comic on a magazine size backing board or a paper. So as I'm looking at it, I can kind of maneuver it so that I'm not touching it, bending it, perhaps risk dropping it and bending a corner or whatever. So right off the bat, and you're probably not going to be able to see that, is there is fingerprints right here, right here. I don't know if this is a fingerprint or if it's worn out in that area, but for sure I can see big fingerprints here, here, and some right in here, right here, right here, right here. So this one does have a lot of fingerprints, and the black, it really does stand out with the black. Let me see what's up in the thing. Do I open it, CGC in the case, or break open to send? Never sent anything to get graded yet. I have 16 books going out next week. So you can send it to CGC to get pressed. The problem being it's going to take a long time. Some people are like, oh, CGC sucks, at pressing. But you know what? They pressed my first appearance of Thor, Journey into Mystery 83. And they did a great job on it. This was the very first thing that I sent to CGC was that first appearance Thor. And the company that does that is called CCG, I think, or CCB, CBC. I forget what it's called, but it's a company that CGC owns. CCS, that's what they're called. And so CCS did a great job on my Journey into Mystery. That's the only thing that I've sent to them. And you can send it to them in the case. They'll crack it out for you and press it and then send it to get regraded. It's all done on the CGC screen. It'll just say, do you want pressing? If so, then hit yes. But you're going to be waiting 6 months or longer before you get that book back. And because they're way behind on the pressing. If you can find a professional presser, that wait might be down to like 2 months at this point. It just depends on you. There is some really good pressers out there. I'd recommend, looking up one of the Facebook groups and joining them. There's, like I said, Captain Mike's pressing, and then there's another professional comic book pressers, and you can try to find somebody there. But a lot of them, a lot of the good ones are going to be backed up right now. So maybe you just send it to CGC and have them send it to CCS for pressing. Which is like right next door, literally, to their facility, and then they just walk it over and get it graded. I haven't had any problems with them, but that's not to say that they could possibly mess it up. They could. Anybody could possibly mess up your book, so it's always a risk. But those risks are minimized when you hire a professional, and the people at CCS are definitely professionals. But you're going to wait a long time. Anyway, so once you free your book, put it on something so you can move it around. This prevents you from dropping it and possibly, scratching the back. If I had this straight onto the desk and I was moving it around, I could potentially be scratching the back. And if you have one of those new books, the paper doesn't hold the ink that well. So you'll find a lot of times there's a color rub along the front and especially along the back of some of them. So you want to try to prevent that as much as possible. So first things first is you get a magazine board. So right now boards are scarce, but luckily I ordered a ton of them before paper started being scarce. But you do need them if you're going to press, and you're going to find the center fold, and you're going to pop it up right up to the staples. And I'll tell you a little secret of what I do just to take it to the next level. Let me grab something. So this isn't in any of the books, but it is something that I do. Is I find the center, and then I'll mark where the staples start and end. And then what I'll do is I bought a hole puncher that punches a slit into it. And depending how deep the staples go, especially if you have those curly Q staples that I was talking about earlier, they pop out really far into the book. You'll need to go deeper with this, but these don't pop out too far. So basically, I find that spot and I just cut a little indentation right in there. And then same thing right here. And now I have two little indentions there. and now it sits up right against the spine, and almost like really perfect there. And then my center is done. That's the first part of the stack and or sandwich, whatever you want to call it. And then second part for these books is you can take either 65-pound cardstock paper and just buffer the back cover and the front cover. And that's to kind of give something flat for the cover to push up against to kind of help straighten all these wrinkles out. And like I said, some of these deep finger bends, sometimes they require a roller ball. I no longer use a roller ball. I use these that I made myself based on a design by a presser. His name is Bert Damone. He made one. I bought one from him, and it was really good. It worked really well. But I think it has bearings inside, and they started wearing out, and little shavings of silver started coming out after probably a year of use, maybe a little bit less. And so you use these to kind of put pressure in those areas to get out those finger bends. So let me show you, and you're gonna, I'll explain to you right now. So right down at the bottom, right there. So right here, there is a big finger bend. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab another magazine size board and some SRP paper. And that stands for silicone release paper. So this is really important for the stack, but later I'll show you why. And what I do with this is two things. One, I put it on the inside of the cover, because what's going to happen is you're going to lose ink when you do this onto whatever surface is back here, unless it's SRP paper, because the ink won't stick to it, so it'll stay on the cover. And then actually, but I'm going to put a magazine board right below it so that I don't push down into the other pages and make indentions. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this small indention here that's very sharp and deep. There you can kind of see where the fingerprints are, where it turns, there we go. Like right there, you can see where it turns kind of blue, the black turns blue. That's oil. So hopefully most of that comes out. If it's been there from the 90s, sometimes it won't all come out. Sometimes it will, with just a cotton round, like, you know, what your girlfriend uses for the makeup. You can buy those at your local store. And what you're going to do is you're going to take that dent that's very sharp and deep, and you're going to turn it into a big shallow dent. So you're going to put SRP paper below and above, and a magazine board between the cover. You never really want to press with a magazine board under the cover, because it could create a seam on here along the edge that could break color, and you want to be very careful about doing that. Only in severe cases, where you just can't get those wrinkles out, should you try something like that. So just to kind of recap, we're going to take it from that bend right here that is deep into a broad, shallow bend. And it's going to look worse for a little bit, but then once you press it, it'll straighten out. So you just kind of take your roller ball, you're going to roll it on there. The pressure depends on whether it's coming out easy or not. If you see it's not coming out easy, add a little bit more pressure. All right, here we go. And okay, so might need just a little bit more pressure there. So now what I've done is I've created a deeper divot, as you can see there. And then ideally, that should press out pretty good. It could use a little bit more work, and sometimes you do have to attack it from the opposite side, and you got to be really careful not to put too much stress on your spine. Let me see, where is it at? Right there. And you do the same thing. You just kind of spot the area that needs work, and then you attack it from the opposite side. Especially if it's very deep, you know, you need to attack it from both sides. to get that canal, that little canal that it makes out. Usually it's a fingernail that'll make that. All right, it's almost all out. And so you basically go over your whole book like this and try to get it all uh, perfect. If you just press it, uh, those may come out, they may not. Paper is temperamental, and some papers are easier to work with than others. And there we go. And it looks like that bend had broken the color a little bit. So while the bend will come out, the color break may not, and that's a problem with like deeper things. But now you can see, there we go. So it's like a big kind of crater like depression, but it's a broad one that can easily be flattened once it's put into the press. And so basically what you'd want to do is go into every uh, area and try to kind of pull that, get those out. Another thing is, like I said, those fingerprints are problematic. So I have a case with a bunch of things that I use. And so let me make sure this is plugged in. There we go. Looks like my bandwidth is going in and out. Let me see the questions. Right, where did you get the rollerball? I missed that. Oh, so the rollerball, you can find them on eBay. A guy named Bert Damone makes them, and they look like this. And they look like this. A lot more manageable than this bulky one. But this one, I've had so long and used it so much that the bearings inside are starting to release little particles of shaved shaved metal. And what happens with that is if that shaved metal gets on your book, you're going to press it in there and create little craters all over it. And then you're just going to have to press it again. So I used that one for about a year until it started doing that. And then what I did is I just bought the parts and started making my own. And it's a little bulkier and bigger, but it works the same. Or you can just buy the balls and use the palm of your hand to roll it. But man, that kills your palm after a while. And unless you got really resilient palms, if you know what I mean, then maybe, you can keep using that with no problems. But yeah, it was hurting my palms. And so, yeah, I had to stop. All right. So now I'm going to pull out. Okay, so I already pulled out that. Okay, good. Now that is a basic stack for you to press. One of the things to look out for if you're pressing for yourself is to make sure all of the papers are up as far up into the spine as possible before you press them. Then the next thing you're going to want to do, and let me put my little toolbox away. You can see some of the things. Oh, I was going to clean the fingerprints. So these aren't the best ones. The little smaller ones are better. But there's a lot of things in here. Magic eraser, which can, I guess it's a bald guy, Mr. Clean. Magic eraser can be used on older books, not on new glossy books for sure. Absorine sponge, dirty eraser works to get like grime out of older books. But yeah, you got to know when to use stuff and when not to when you're doing this. Some books, if you use a magic eraser on them, you'll just take all the color off. Other books are a little more resilient, and you should only use them really on the white areas. You can also use an eraser, like a white soft eraser, one of those plastic erasers. I also use those as well, but you got to use it sparingly and not on any new books. The new books are just made so cheaply, and this glossy paper is so crappy that I just wouldn't recommend doing it. Anyway, so eBay, if you want one of these, Bert Damone is the guy that makes them. He's in one of the pressing groups. He's like a, I don't know, OG presser, I guess. And it's really, hats off to him. It's like the first innovation in pressing, a tool that was specifically made for pressing, because these roller balls are used like in like Amazon warehouses where they're rolling boxes. It's got a bunch of those. and he is the one that got smart and put it on a stick. So definitely hats off to Bert Damone for inventing this for everybody to use. And like I said, I've been using it for like a year already, and now like metal shavings are coming out from the bearings inside. I wore the hell out of it while I was learning, so I had to make my own. But this was the only rollerball I could find, and so that's what I use now. I also made a smaller one with a tiny little rollerball, for like really tiny areas. So what I'll do is I'll go over this area with this one if it's really deep, and then make it broader and wider with this one. And then once I do that and press it, the press will straighten it back out and make it nice and neat. But anyway, okay, so as far as prepping goes, you also really want to attack those fingerprints. And sometimes the oil comes off, sometimes it does not. And in this case, it looks like it's kind of coming off. But yeah, that oil, especially on these black covers, they're very hard on these black covers because they show every problem. And then you can't rub forever on these because you'll wear it out. It's like anything else. You rub it too long and it's gonna wear out. So don't rub. That's I guess something you can use in your everyday life, a motto you can use. Don't rub for too long because it'll wear out. And yeah, you can have a chance to wear out the ink on the top. Let's see. So I can still see some there. I see it really, really bad in this area. And sometimes, and this is very, very questionable, not questionable, very, I guess, risky, is when you just can't get it out. You can moisten this with a humidifier. Which it looks something like this. You fill it with distilled water only, and you turn it on, and you can humidify it slightly, very slightly. Especially on 90s books, it should work okay. You should never do this on anything, 2000s and up, because that paper will not tolerate any kind of liquid on it. You'll pull off all the ink very easily. But this one could use a little bit of steam. You just steam up the pad and then kind of wipe it away, and then you should always have a dry pad next to you, and you can kind of dry it off as it goes, so any streaks come off, that way you don't stain it. It is very risky on a black cover though, so if you're going to do that, I don't recommend it's one of the first things you do. You got to get really, really familiar with the books and the paper stocks and all of that stuff before you even think of attempting that. And if at all you can avoid it, you should. Now, I do have a Star Wars #1 6.5 that was just, it had dirt all over it. It had boogers all over it. It had like food all over it. It was terrible. And that one, being from the 70s, was pretty hardy. The ink process was different than printing on gloss. And you can see on here maybe a little bit, it's turning a little bit blue, very light. So that's actually ink coming off. And it doesn't seem to, it's done a little bit, it's made it a little bit cleaner. But yeah, it could be that the grease over the years has just been too much and it's already faded the color. So potentially that's as good as it's going to get. I haven't decided whether I want to steam it or not. I'll decide on that later. But I'll probably do like a little test somewhere and see what it does. And if it, does well with the steam, then I might go in there and try to rub off that oil. But anyway, I basically took one of these and dipped it in distilled water, cleaned that cover so bad because it would have probably come back like a 3 or 4. And I was able to clean it so much and make it look so much better that it came back a 6.5. And it had a lot of non-pressable defects, like anytime you break color, that's non-pressable. That color break will stay there forever. You can't bring back that color without restoration. And so anyway, that's all I got to say about that. So then inside your presses, some people choose to use metal plates. Some people do not want to use metal plates, but basically the way it works is boom, magazine size board on the bottom. That's your base. And you can, I guess, you could probably press on straight metal if the metal was perfect, but that's not always the case. Like this one already has scratches and stuff. If it has any indentions, you're going to press those indentions into the comic. So you want a magazine board, and you definitely want to look at it and make sure there's no indentions, that there's no dust on it, anything like that. And so that's going to go there. Then you're going to get SRP paper. And so SRP paper can be bought at photography stores, cooking stores, online at Amazon. This is the one. This is the one that I use from Amazon. It's a little funky to work with sometimes because it will wrinkle up, and potentially those wrinkles could be pressed into your comic if you don't have very much pressure on it. But if you use the right pressure, which you'll learn as you go, you'll have no problems doing it. And then there's another sheet, and this SRP I mainly use for dents, to when I'm working on dents. This is the one that was recommended in Captain Mike's book, the CPA comic book CPR. It's okay, but one of the other steps that I'm not going to go over today is called humidification. So you put the book in to the humidity chamber, a humidity chamber which you make, and that introduces moisture into the pages so that when you press it, it's like an iron, right? Like you're ironing clothes. You can put steam on it or starch, and that helps get the wrinkles out. Same thing with paper. But if the comic has humidity, that increases the risk of this one wrinkling up, even if you have good pressure. So sometimes those wrinkles will form and press into the comic. So this I really only use for getting out dents, like I showed you earlier, or keeping pages from pressing ink onto the other pages. I'll put it in between, but I won't introduce heat to these because, yeah, that can be problematic. Like I said, these do wrinkle up along the edges, but I've never had one wrinkle up anywhere the comic is. But again, if you don't put very much pressure, potentially that could work. I mean, that could happen. So just be careful with that. So you're going to want SRP paper. Oh, and I got that on Amazon. I think I told you. SRP paper. And then you're going to get your stack. And remember, it's a buffer between the cover and the first page, and the back cover and the last page, and then the center one. And I go that extra step, and I do those slots there, and I put it in there. Oh, and look, so kind of to show you, see that little stain there? That was a little bit of yellow that came off of here. Not enough to, it doesn't come off enough to notice, so that you notice there's plenty of ink on there. Some of it goes in deep, some of it stays at the surface. And then so you're going to center it on there. Once you have your stack, you always make sure these are pushed as far to the spine as possible. If it's crooked, you're going to make a line there. So you got to make sure it's completely straight. Then you're going to take another SRP paper, and I usually go over with one of those compressed air cans and just, blow off any dust that may be on there, because any little piece of dust or a hair or anything will press into the comic. And then you put that back on. Then one more magazine board. This one has a dent here from where I was rollerballing that other dent. So I wouldn't use this one, but this is just an example. And you pop that on there, and then you take your other piece of sheet metal, pop it on there, and then you take it over to your presses, put it in there, apply the right amount of pressure, and that will, for a certain amount of time, depending on the book, and that will press your book. And ideally, when it comes out, if you pray to the pressing gods hard enough, you only need one press. And most modern books will only need one press. A lot of them will need multiple if they're really, really, really messed up. So it just depends on the book. These are things you learn on time. This is just quick kind of showing you how I do it. I'm sure some people will, out there will be like, well, I do it this way or I do it that way and my way is better. It's always going to be, somebody else's way is better. Is it really? Who knows? You got to do what works best for you, what you've seen results with. And this has proven to be really good for what, for what I do. So, and so one of the things, look, a piece of lint got in there, a little black piece of lint right here got in there. So luckily it was down here. And this is where when you take it and you put it on the press, you shoot that compressed air in there to really get everything out. Then you lay this one down, then you lay the other one down, and then you press it to make sure you got everything out from under there, because that lint would have made a divot, and then I would have had to start the whole process all over again. And usually if you're going to humidify it, I have a humidity tank over here that was made from an old refrigerator, one of those small square refrigerators with a glass front. So that's what I use for my humidity. I put it in there. Other people use, like, I don't know, those big like totes and stuff, and they fill it with water and put it out in the sun. That's really risky for me. Those you can humidify a book in like a few hours, because it's like a lot of humidity in there introduced at once. I like this method. I put it in there for the rest of the day. I come back the next day, and it's usually, great. It's ready. It's about like 44% humidity inside that tank. I have a little humidity like thermometer that kind of tells you how much how humid it is in there, and that works. Leave it in there for about 20 hours, 24 hours till I come back the next day, put it in the press, and then we're good to go, especially on severely wrinkled items. Right now, what do I have in my press? I mean, in my humidity chamber, I have a first appearance Pikachu. It was Pokemon number 1, electric Pikachu something maybe. And then first appearance of Ghost Rider, Marvel Presents 5. And that one's not mine. That one's my employee Isaac's. He just bought it. He wanted it pressed. And then I have the first appearance of Goku in Preview. It's a little, I don't know, like 8-page, 9-page comic. First appearance of Goku in comics. And then I have, what else do I got in there? I think that's about it that I have in there. But anyway, guys, so Reborn Anime, what's up, dude? How are you guys doing? I know nothing about comics or what you're doing, but it seems pretty cool. Thank you, man. We cracked a CGC out of its case, and I showed people how I go about cracking and pressing, or at least prepping for press, the comics that I send off to CGC. And that's kind of what we went over, some of the tools, that I use, and some, I guess, kind of trade secrets, honestly. And so in those groups, some will help you a lot, but a lot of pressers don't really want to help you. They don't want more competition. They don't want to share their secrets. And I get it. That's how they make their living. It's like if you had a company and you had all these, things that you pioneered, and somebody comes and tries to, copy you and doing everything you do and, stealing stuff. I get it. But since I don't do this, for a living, I just kind of do it for myself. I don't mind sharing these techniques. But yeah, if you came and asked, hey, how do you run your comic store? I'd be like, hey, wait, well, it took me 12 years to figure it out. So, back up, back up a bit. D says, oh, I seen one of those Pikachus listed for like $100,000. Oh, shoot. Yeah. And on eBay, people can list them for whatever they want. Are they necessarily worth that much? No. It's only worth as much as somebody is willing to pay for it. So I think I paid $50 for this one, the electric tail of Pikachu. There it is. I think I paid $50 for it. It's not a 9.8 for sure. It's got spine dents that break color, especially one big one right around there. And then you can see quite a few back there. You can see the white. A lot of finger bends and stuff though, but I could probably get a 9.2, maybe even a 9.4 on a good day out of this. So yeah, and there's a lot of printings of this too. So watch out with which one you're getting and paying for. I want to say there's like 13 printings or something insane like that. So just watch out when you're buying those comics. Sometimes older printings are rarer. Sometimes that's not the case. But basically, that's the stack. That's how you prep the comic for pressing. And obviously, I don't have time to press it because it has to stay in the press for 24 hours. Is what I try to do. I try to leave something in there, press it, leave, come the next day, just so it trains the paper to stay in that position. If you pull it out too early, it just basically the paper has memory, and we're trying to erase that memory. It'll fold back up to what it looked like before if you just pull it out of the heat too soon, or at least very close to that. And that's called reversion. And sometimes you don't know. You send it off to CGC, and it takes like a couple weeks, and boom, it'll be reverted back to what it looked like before, and it'll come back. So 24, sometimes even 48 hours for really stubborn books, to so that it stays in that position and basically retrains the paper to forget those wrinkles. But yeah, I'm not going to do that now. I still want to work on this one a little bit. I need to try to get these fingerprints out and see how far I can take that. And then, like I said, this is not going to be a 9.8. I already have a 9.8 that I bought several years ago. It was like $100, like in 2018, 2017, for a 9.8 one of these. So I already have my 9.8. This one's more. So if John Romita Jr. has a, if I have a chance to meet him at a convention, or I, CGC has a signing with him, I could send it and he can sketch something on there. Hell, maybe even McFarlane, sketch. Well, I don't know. A sketch from him would be really expensive, and considering he didn't draw inside of this, I guess it wouldn't be a good idea to get his signature on there. But yeah, either him, maybe Straczynski. I think it was Straczynski who wrote this book. Let me see, which is the writer. Maybe getting his signature on it. It would have been great to get Stan Lee's since he created Spider-Man. But anyway, obviously that's not a possibility. But yeah, Scott Hanna would be a good one. Also, John Romita Jr. would be a good one to kind of get sketched on there. And really, I don't know, maybe even Mike Zeck. Like any of my favorite artists sketching a Spider-Man on here would be cool, whether they had anything to do with this particular book or not. But usually, what you want to do is if the artist on the inside sketches on the cover, that's usually preferable. So maybe John Romita Jr. sketching the Two Towers and Spider-Man or something on here and signing it would be amazing. Anyway, guys, so any last questions? Let me see. Did you see the parody listings? So funny. Look for the X-Men 9.3. I've seen one that was like an X-Force one that was like an 11, graded 11. It was like a parody one, and it had like it was still in the bag. It was really, really funny and crazy. I did see that one. I thought that one was absolutely hilarious, and it had like mislistings in there and stuff, like things that weren't true. But no, I haven't seen the 9.3. I'll Google that and see. Thanks for that, D. All right, guys. Well, that is all. I guess I can lift my camera back up. Uh-oh, what am I doing? Who knows? And there we go. So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. That was just a quick, I guess, little tutorial on how I crack comics out of their case and prep them for pressing. One of these days, we'll go over the actual pressing process. Maybe I'll work on this one, humidify it, and then run through the pressing part of it. At least the actual pressing aspect of it, and then maybe come back the next day and see the results. I'm trying to do more live so I can get used to this new StreamYard thing. Like I said, this next Friday, Black Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, I will be doing a live auction with Gem Mint Collectibles on YouTube, on his YouTube channel. He has like 100,000 subscribers. He's got this awesome YouTube plaque that not many people who do comic YouTubes have. A few of them do, but this guy, holy crap, he's legit, and he does auctions periodically. I'll be on there auctioning some of my personal comic books. Um, and I think Nick Barucci, he's the CEO of Dynamite Entertainment. They're a comic publishing company that they, I guess they have Vampirilla, Red Sonja, Panthera. I forget who else. They have a lot of really cool characters, and they publish stuff every month. He always brings the fire. He has like original art pages. He has signed things. Last time I bought 2 comics. First appearance of Pip, the troll, who just came out on Eternals at the end scene. Oops, spoiler. I bought his first appearance signed, and as well as I forgot what the other one was, but it was 2 signed copies of Warlock, Strange Tales Warlock. And the thing was, those came from Jim Starlin, the writer and the creator of Thanos and Warlock and all of those guys. All the a lot of the cosmic stuff that came after. Oh, he didn't create Warlock. I'm sorry, that was Kirby. Or Stanley, I don't know, one of those. But Thanos and Infinity Gauntlet, all of that stuff, Jim Starlin created, and these came from his personal collection. They have a certificate of authenticity, and I'm a big Jim Starlin fan, so I just had to have it. Big Marvel cosmic fan since I was a kid. Silver Surfer, Infinity Gauntlet, that was my time. That was the good stuff. And so anyway, he brought those to auction, and I had to bid on them, and I got them. Anyway, he has a lot of cool stuff. I'm going to be busting out some really cool stuff. Hulk 181, first appearance of Echo in Daredevil. She's about to come out with her own series, but before that, she'll be on the Hawkeye series that's coming out. A lot of keys, a lot of raw keys, and several CGC keys that'll be buy it nows, and or like I'll take offers on them and decide, how badly do I want to part with these or not. And a bunch of raw stuff, first cover appearance of the Zombies, Wolverine, first miniseries, a whole bunch of stuff, Young Avengers, all Hawkeye, all stuff that's relevant to this time. So if you haven't, go subscribe to Gem Mint's channel. We'll be on there with the auction with Gem Mint and Nick Barucci of Dynamite Comics. 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central if you're in my area of Texas, 7 Central. The auction will start, and sometimes we go to like 11, 12, midnight, and it's just like a long thing. And I got a ton of stuff to sell. I'm trying to whittle down. I probably have 100,000 comics in my personal collection, and honestly, by the time I die, I want to have 100, and I want them to be Amazing Fantasy 15. I already have Journey 83, Hulk 181s. I want all the big boy books, and I'm willing to sell all my other stuff, which is all good modern keys that have monetary value and will keep increasing in value with the MCU introducing new characters. But I want the core ones, Hulk 1, Fantastic Four 1, and those are ungodly expensive, and I probably have to sell all those comics just to be able to afford a couple of those in a low grade. But I'm willing to do it. I need to let go. I need to learn to let go of a lot of my stuff. I've become a hoarder. I'm not even a collector anymore. I'm a hoarder, legit hoarder. I used to say it's not hoarding, it's collecting. No, now it's hoarding. So anyway, guys, appreciate you guys jumping on here. He said, yeah, I unsubscribed from Gem because he's got enough. Okay, well, resubscribe at least for this Friday, D, so you can check out my auction. Timex are 5150 says, try Whatnot too. I'm definitely on Whatnot right now as a buyer, and I am going to be doing auctions on there. I was on Very Gary's auction last night looking at his listings, and I did buy an Infinity Gauntlet graded 9.8 from him last night. As we were out at Top Golf. My girlfriend and my buddy and his girlfriend were out, or his wife, sorry, were out at Top Golf, and we were there chilling. And I got a notification that Very Gary was on. I was like, oh, let me see what's going on there. And his very last auction item, he was on there for like an hour and a half or something. His very last auction item was a 9.8 Infinity Gauntlet. I already have one, but like I said, that's my childhood. I could use another 9.8, so I did buy that from him. And D says, yeah, I'll check it out for sure. Cool. Appreciate it, man. All right, guys. I guess that's it. If not, I'll never shut up. An hour and a half. This was supposed to be a 20-minute video. But if you know me, I'll talk forever. Anyway, later, guys. Bye-bye. Oh, it doesn't want to end.